people saying stuff like, God, I'm so sorry. You don't have a job now and you're getting a divorce and now you can't drink or whatever. It sounds to them like your life is going down the toilet. And I'm over here like, no. It's falling apart to fall together. This is amazing. I'm ending all these things that were bad. The life before I started making the changes, when I had this corporate job and I was married and I was the life of the party, out drinking at these parties, that's when it was falling apart.
Hello and welcome to the Shift Your Day Job podcast. I'm Brittany Cates, your host and companion on this incredible journey of career transformation. Get ready for inspiring stories, valuable insights, and a roadmap to shift your mindset towards a more fulfilling professional life. In each episode, we explore the remarkable journeys of individuals who made the leap from one career to another. As we navigate through these stories together, you'll find motivation, strategies, and the confidence to pursue your dreams. Whether you're feeling stuck, contemplating a change, or just seeking a dose of inspiration, this podcast is your weekly companion. Tune in every Thursday as we uncover the secrets to shifting your day job. I'm Brittany Cates, and I'm here to guide you on your path to a more fulfilling career. Hello, and welcome back to the Shift Your Day Job podcast. I'm your host, Brittany Cates, and today we have a very beautiful guest. Her name is Christy Freddo. She has an incredible story to share with us today. Not only did she make a career change from the corporate world to becoming an entrepreneur, but she also made a lot of really big life changes at that time as well. And the fact that she is so vulnerable and willing to share her story, not only with us, but the people she works with as a life coach. It's just such an honor to have her on the podcast to share her experiences and her passion around meditation and mindset work. Please join me in welcoming Christy to the podcast. Hi, Christy. Thanks so much for being here on the Shift Your Day Job podcast. How are you today?
I'm great. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. I hear you've been a busy woman doing multiple podcasts, so that's super exciting. You're almost a celebrity, so I'm excited to have you here.
Definitely a celebrity.
I've heard a little bit about your story, but can you share with our listeners maybe a little bit about your background, and then it can morph into your journey of how you shifted your career and what you're doing today?
Sure. So I am currently the owner of Face Logic Spa, which is a spa here in Dallas. I've had that for a little over 10 years. And then the last year, I've also added coaching to that because I decided it was time to give back. I really love doing that. So the metamorphosis of that whole situation goes back about 12 or 13 years when I was working in corporate America and totally miserable, the most miserable person you could ever meet. Not a very nice person because I was so miserable, not very proud of the way that I acted or treated people. And I was in this horrible job situation and realized I was an alcoholic and came to grasp the fact I was in an abusive marriage. And in 6 months' time, got out of all of those things. Then within 2 years' time of starting those changes, I had bought my spa and become an entrepreneur and had met the most wonderful man. And we have blended a beautiful family together. I've been married almost 10 years and also got to do all that while being sober. So that's where I am today and how I got there.
Wow, that's such an inspirational story. And I love that you're at a place where you're able to share it with people, because maybe you weren't early on, but now that you're at this point in your life, I just love that you're willing to be open and share that with people because it's very relatable on so many different levels.
Yes, thank you. For over a decade, I didn't tell anybody about it, about any of it that had happened, and didn't tell anyone when it was going on. Did it all on my own because I felt so much shame and just didn't want people to think something bad about me. And then I guarded that story for over a decade and spun it. Oh, I just don't drink. I just don't, like, whatever. And didn't tell anyone what had all had really gone on, to the point that when I wrote my ebook, that has a lot of the story in it, when my husband was reading the first draft, it has a lot of personal stories in there about my life. And he was like, what? Wait, what? This happened? Wait, what? you went to an outpatient intensive program, like a mental health thing to get sober. And I'm like, yeah. And he's, you went to AA? Oh, that's how you know Georgia? She's your sponsor? Wait, what? And then I had like, even my best friends read it and were like, I have so many questions. We have to go to coffee. So telling the story now is a big switch. So getting to be my authentic self and share that and be able to help people is the most amazing thing.
That's awesome. And also crazy. I don't know how long you were married at that point, but just the fact that it was held so close to your heart that even your closest loved ones didn't even know. Like I said, I think that it's so relatable, though. I think a lot of us do that. We're too ashamed to talk about it. And yet, how liberating was it for you to finally get to that point where you were allowing people in? You were allowing people to be part of your story. What was it that inspired you to write that book and to move more towards that authenticity?
It's funny. I had never thought of writing a book. I had never thought of coaching. I had never thought of sharing my story. And I started doing guided meditation for manifesting. This was a year ago. And in that, I had the vision of me coaching people and helping people and having these actual conversations with people that I've now actually had with clients, which is crazy. And I don't know, just realized if I tell this story, it could help so many people. And all these people who are in that situation, any of those situations, and feeling any kind of shame, and that's why they're not getting help, like it might help them. It might give all these people hope. And then I realized I could coach people and help them with all of these strategies I developed over time to completely change and rebuild my life and reinvent myself. And I'm just holding these to myself, and that's almost selfish. And I need to get this out there. It's not something I ever planned to do, but I love it now. And it's funny because now that I'm coaching, because I also was like, will I even like coaching? Will I even be good at it? Like, why is this in my head all of a sudden as something that I need to do? I've coached people professionally in corporate America and in my spa business or whatever, but I was like, life coaching is a totally different skill set. And do I even know how to do that? What am I doing? And then once I started doing it, I remember I told my husband, I love this so much. I would do it free. And I am going to do this until way past through retirement and on, because I love it. And it lights me up so much, helping people and seeing the aha moments and then watching them change and do things that they didn't think that they could do. It's amazing to get to have 2 career transitions in life that are that amazing, to go from being in a situation that was so miserable in corporate America to being able to go to having a spa where I have all of this time because it's an owner absent business. I have someone who runs the day to day, where I've been able to raise kids and be the room mom, be on the PTO board, direct musicals for my child when she was in elementary school and be totally present, get to pick them up from school, do all this great stuff. And then to be able to, from that, go help people and be able to do that on top of it and have 2 really cool careers whenever I had a career that I hated with everything in me for so long. So I feel super lucky.
Yeah, that's awesome and very inspirational. So thank you for sharing this idea that we can actually move from something that maybe we feel stuck in to something that totally lights us up and that we're excited to be doing every day. So amazing that you're able to do all of that. And to our listeners, note that it's evolved over time and you weren't even sure if you were going to like coaching, but you jumped in and you did it anyway. And that really revealed to you that it really was your calling at this time.
It's funny how that happens. And then I told my husband, why haven't I been doing this all along? This is what I was made to do. I love this so much. And I was like, oh, because I wouldn't have had the life experience to have been able to do this all along. Like it had to be now. It had to be this way. And like I said, I would have never even thought of it. It never crossed my mind that I would coach, especially in a life coach type situation. So life is funny. The universe has its own plans.
Yeah. And I can relate to that as well because I started my career path in graphic design and then I transitioned into teaching and now kind of back into the tech world and doing design again. And it's almost like I had to take that journey to come back to what I really knew was true for me. And I wouldn't have figured it out without that. We can look back with regret or we can look back with gratitude. Yeah.
For sure. I'm so thankful. I'm even thankful for all of the seemingly horrific experiences I've had in my life. Because without them, I wouldn't be the same mom. I wouldn't be the same friend. I wouldn't be the same wife. And I definitely wouldn't be able to have this next chapter of my life.
Yeah.
Of doing coaching. So it's all good. Everything that happens has a reason.
So going back to your initial career change, like what was it that made you have that like light bulb moment about all those facets of your life? Were you doing something different? Did something come up to bring your attention to it? What was the turning point for you?
I don't know that there was an exact turning point as much as it was, I was so miserable for so long and just knew that I had to get out and was too scared to do it for a long time. And I finally got to this place where I was so miserable in the middle of the night. I woke up and sat bolt upright and screamed, "Help me, God." Never in my life have I done that before or since. But this weird thing happened. And then I think a couple nights later, I actually had a dream about how I actually got to quit that job and how free I felt. And I like imagined me working out the details of leaving with my boss and my HR rep because it was corporate America. And then it was like it all just came true.
Wow.
It was like a vision and a dream. And then it all just, I was able to work it out in a way that worked for me because I had wanted to leave for so long, but was so terrified because I kept thinking I'll never have a director level position like this again. Will I ever find this again if I just leave and just walk away from it without another job? Because it's so hard to get a job when you don't have a job. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I kept thinking that. And I was like, I make such good money. Am I ever going to make this much money again if I just walk away and don't jump from one job to the next? And so I was really terrified. And I knew that I always had wanted to be an entrepreneur, but I was also terrified to do that. And so at the end of the day, I just got to the place that I was like, I didn't leave to exactly become an entrepreneur. I just left because I was miserable. I had health issues at that point because I was so stressed and so out of alignment with my true self and my true purpose. And I finally got to the place that I was like, it's just money. It's just a position and title. And it doesn't matter how hard I work for all of that. I have to do what's right for my mental health and to be a good mom. And it was just the way it had to be.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that because I can relate to it. And I think a lot of people can too, in the respect of feeling like there's nothing better on the other side and using all of these societal excuses per se, like the title or the salary or the benefits or whatever, as will I ever find this same thing again? Do I need to have something lined up before I quit my job? Do I have to know exactly what I want to do before I can actually leave? And I know for me, it even got to a similar point where I was like, I don't care anymore. I just have to let this piece go. Otherwise, I'm going to like hang on to it. Like I had to completely remove myself from education in order for me to recognize and pursue other possibilities. And I think it's easy for people to get stuck in that way. But do you have any advice on tools people could use to move out from this stuck energy into this more aligned and like revelatory kind of energy?
I think anything you can do with your mindset is always going to help you, whether it's affirmations or it's manifesting or it's meditation or whatever. But I truly believe that anything you do with meditation is going to open up your blocks. It's going to help you see things clearly. It's going to take you out of the daily grind and let you see things for what they are and what they could be. The more time you can spend in meditation, the more you can see. And the more you can see the future of what could be, and the more you can get in touch with yourself and realize that you can do anything, and the more you can find your courage. And it takes courage to make a move in your career. And so you have to go find that courage. And I do think that of all of those things, one of the best places is in meditation. And I think another thing that you have to do is check your resume. And I don't mean check your resume, take a look at your professional resume, check your resume of your life. what have you overcome in your life? We've all overcome these huge things, right? We've all made some kind of transition. We've all figured something out. Look at those things and find strength and courage in those things, and then be able to bring those forward.
I love that, because another thought I had when it comes to leaving a job and maybe not really having a clear idea of where you're going next or how things are going to work out is recognizing all the things that you've done up to this point in your life, like you're saying, and how capable you are of figuring it out. Like, you don't have to know right now, in this very moment, it will work out because you've gotten yourself this far in life. So
people don't give themselves enough credit. They don't give themselves enough credit. Nobody, no client I talk to gives themselves enough credit. I have to do the check your resume every time. And I'll be like, the little I know of you. When I'm starting out with someone, I can say, look at these things. Like, I can be talking to somebody I just worry that I'm not good enough, that no one will listen to my podcast if I start a podcast, these different fears or whatever. And I'm like, okay, so far what I know about you is that you've written a book that's been published. You've won the Congressional Medal of Honor for volunteerism. You're a certified Reiki instructor. You've done all these things. You've worked in corporate America. I mean, like, these crazy accomplishments. So what are you worried about again? What would ever make you think that you're not going to be successful that's factual? If we look at actual facts and not emotions and not the way that somebody treated you or made you feel at some point in your life, if we look at the facts of your life and the things you've accomplished and the things you've overcome, what on earth would ever make you think that you would not be successful and that you would be scared of this? And then people have this huge aha of, oh yeah, I can do this.
Thank you for those examples. I think that's something that a lot of people need to hear. And I still do that. I'm working on this podcast and I don't know what I'm doing, but I hope it goes well. But I'm doing it. And it's just like one example of the type of person that I am and like what I'm capable of. And it doesn't have to be perfect. It can be messy along the way. That's just normal, right? That's just part of life.
And you have the courage to do it. And because you have the courage to do this thing that I'm guessing you knew nothing about before that, and the fact you're just doing it messy, you're saying, I'm just going to get out there and do it. And people will want to hear my voice because I'm an authentic person. Like, that's what makes things successful. We just have to get out there and try. And then if it doesn't work out exactly the way we first try, we just pivot. And the road to success is the same as the road to failure. It's just a little bit further down that same road. So it's all about experimenting, right? Experimenting and exploring things till you find exactly what it is that you want to be doing.
Yeah, I love that. Looking at life as more of an experiment, actual rule book, maybe. I don't know.
Sure. And I think if we can detach ourselves from the outcome and from what people will think and whatnot, and we're just having fun, because life was meant to be fun. We forget that. Life was meant to be fun. And if we can just experiment and go, I wonder if this podcast would work. And then if it doesn't work, you're like, I wonder if it would work if I made it about something a little bit different. Or maybe it wasn't a podcast I was supposed to do. Maybe it was a coach because I'm going to help people one-on-one. Like, you just have to keep getting out there. And if you're having fun with it and you're not worried about what people think and you're not worried about what the outcome is it going to be super successful? You're just doing it because it's fun and it's fulfilling and it lights you up. That's when we're going to be successful.
Yeah, it's about getting into the flow of just being yourself, being authentic and doing what's fun or what you enjoy, and everything will fall into place the way it's supposed to, right? Like we mentioned earlier. Can you discuss a tough moment in one of your transitions and how you stayed resilient through that challenging experience?
The road from corporate America to owning a spa was not very smooth or very clear, I will say. I think I mentioned I always wanted to be an entrepreneur, but I was terrified of that also because the risk involved in it of you put money into it and what if it doesn't work? And it's a little bit daunting whenever you think of it that way. So I kept pushing that down. Like, that's something I want to do, but it's not something that is really realistic, that I'm going to become this entrepreneur and have the success that I had in corporate America, whatever. I just kept pushing it down and going, the smartest, safest thing to do, especially at that time as a single mom, when I was switching from corporate America or my break from corporate America to trying to become an entrepreneur, I needed to support a kiddo with no child support at that time and a single mom. Like, the smartest thing to do is go get a job that has great benefits, great salary and whatever. So I started playing with that a little bit and interviewing for those kinds of jobs, which isn't what I really wanted to do. And I had all of these funny things happen along the way that if you ever question, is the universe trying to tell me something? Those things would definitely tell you the universe is trying to tell you something. And so I remember, for example, I flew to New York at the end stages of an interview process for this company, flew back that night. The headhunter called me that night and said, they just decided today they're going to sell the company. I'm like, okay, I guess that wasn't meant for me. All right. And then a few months later, I got a call from a headhunter and they said, I talked to the owner of Dallas's premier magazine today, and they want to start a TV station, a new division as a spinoff of the magazine, and they want to interview you about heading it up. And I thought, okay, I hadn't really thought about ever running a TV station. This is not anywhere in my background. What are we talking about here? But it sounds like the most glamorous, amazing thing. And I got so excited and so distracted from this whole I want to be an entrepreneur thing. And so I went down that path, went through this really long interview process with them, got the job. I had a start date of January 2nd, went into the Christmas holidays. Christmas Eve, I go pick up my brand new Lexus. Life is so great. Get home, get a call from the owner of the magazine. And he says, essentially due to a really long story out of his control, he's going to have to rescind the offer.
Wow.
And it was this whole crazy long story. He was so sad. I thought he was going to cry. Like, I was comforting him because he was like, this is horrible. And this is not what I want. And anyway, and so I had a little pity party that night and then picked myself up on Christmas Day and was like, this is not rejection. This is redirection. I want to be an entrepreneur. That is all I've ever wanted to do. On January 2nd, after the holidays, I'm going to hit the ground looking for a business, figure it out. That's what's going to happen. And that's what I did on January 2nd. And March 1st, I was in my spa.
Wow.
So there are bumpy parts, but sometimes that bumpiness is just the universe getting you where you need to be. It closes doors. If you're going down a hallway and you start to go into a door and it's nope, and it closes it. And you get down the hallway and you're like, oh, whoa, look at what was at the end for me. I had no idea. I can't believe I got distracted by shiny things. This is where I was going. This is where I'm meant to be. And then everything becomes super easy because you're in flow and you're doing what you're supposed to do and you're doing what you want to do. And when everything is really easy like that, you're on the right track. And that's how it was making that transition at that point. It was like once I started working on finding a business and going down that path, everything was suddenly easy and exciting and amazing. And it wasn't hard and like an arduous interview process. And there was no just kidding at the end.
Yeah. Wow. It sounds like you had a lot of really great opportunities. And for an outsider, they'd be like, wow, that's amazing. I can't believe you got that job interview or you got that job and your life's going to be like this. Yeah, it doesn't matter how it looks to the outside world. It matters how it like feels inside for you. And
Yes.
it is really easy to get distracted because you are caught up in the practicality of things, right? When not everything needs to be explainable to other people. But yeah, that's
Yes. And I remember to your point about other people, I remember so many people during that 2-year time frame that I broke everything down and rebuilt everything. People saying stuff like, God, I'm so sorry. You don't have a job now and you're getting a divorce and now you can't drink or whatever. It sounds to them like your life is going down the toilet. And I'm over here like, no. It's falling apart to fall together. This is amazing. I'm ending all these things that were bad. The life before I started making the changes, when I had this corporate job and I was married and I was the life of the party, out drinking at these parties, that's when it was falling apart. So people don't even know. Their perception is not even correct. You can't listen to what other people think. You can't worry about other people think. And guess what? They're probably not thinking about you anyway. And you don't know what they're really thinking. Is like the big lesson that I had from that whole thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. I'm just curious, what made you decide to open a spa in particular? Is that the type of entrepreneurial business you always wanted to do, or how did that kind of come about?
No, Well, I always knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur, but I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do, what area I wanted to work in exactly. But I just knew that I wanted to be in charge of sort of my own destiny. And I had said this prayer for a long time during that time that I was trying to figure out what I was going to be doing. That was essentially, please let me find a way to have an income that allows Riley and me, as my daughter, to keep our current lifestyle, to support us. And that also allows me to have my integrity in check and never have my values compromised again and never have to make a decision that I don't feel good about again. And so those were the first two things. And then the third thing was I want to have the work-life balance where I can put this kiddo first, because I had had this international job, traveled all the time, had missed so much in the first 4 or 5 years of her life. That was all that I really wanted. So it was those three things: be able to support us, be able to never compromise my values or ethics, and be able to have great work-life balance. So the spa was actually an existing business that the business broker presented to me, because I was looking at existing businesses because I couldn't start something from scratch at that point because it would take way too much of my time, effort, and energy. And so when that one came up, at first, when the business broker called me, he was like, I have this great spa and I think that you should really look at it and whatever. And I was like, a spa? That's not even on my list of things that I've thought about doing. And then he was like, just meet with the owner and hear about it. So I start talking to her and she's like, it's pretty much an owner absent business. I have someone who runs the day to day. So you just have to work in it a few hours a week. So you have all this free time for your kids. And I'm like, oh, hold on a minute. And then I learned more about the model and I was like, I love this model. I think it's probably pretty close to recession proof. I think because it's a value for money model. All of a sudden, I just realized like I am 100% energetically aligned to this. It checks all three of the boxes of the things I've been praying for and asking for. And this is it. So then I go in with the broker and then he gives me the selling price. And I'm like, I don't have that much money. Guess what? This is no fun, because I was already putting in my life savings. And I was like, I don't have that. I don't have it. I went back and thought about, can I get a loan when I haven't worked in a year? Do I want to ask my parents for money? None of these options really sounded great. And I was like, I don't know what to do, but I know this is the business for me. I can feel it. It's 100% what I'm supposed to do. So I started doing some manifesting activities. I went and secret shopped the spa, went in and got a facial without anyone knowing who I was, saw the space, got a facial, fell in love head over heels with the spa, and started to visualize myself in that space as the owner, greeting clients, looking at every detail down to what am I wearing? I'm wearing cute sundresses and fun sandals and all these things you could never wear in corporate America, or if I went and got that kind of job, and like being able to dress and be myself and not have to worry about like being formal and whatever, which is totally not me. And so I visualized it to the point of literally being able to feel how awesome it would be to say to a friend, hey, I want to get you a free facial for your birthday or whatever. Like totally manifested it. And a couple days later, the business broker called me and said, I talked to the owner of the spa and she feels like you're the person that she wants to sell it to. And I know that you said you don't have all of the funds. And so she's willing to owner finance that last bit for you. I was like, oh my gosh, it is really happening. I knew it was going to happen. I can feel it. This really is for me. And it was just like this incredible journey where everything was really easy because it was meant to be. And everything just fell into place. And I think that's how it is when you're on the right track.
Yeah. That's an amazing story and proof that you can have your criteria or your vision of what you're looking for. And you can be as like unrealistic as possible, right? Because you could have given that list to somebody and they'd be like, are you sure that's a deal breaker? Like this is number 3, like as long as you just find something or whatever. And it is a deal breaker. I'm allowed to be looking for this thing and I know it exists and I know it's going to happen for me. And it's going to happen because you are not compromising and you are living in that flow of moving towards it. I love that example.
And the craziest thing is, whenever I gave up on those non-negotiables for a hot minute because I got distracted by, I'm going to have a TV network. That's pretty hard not to get distracted by. The universe didn't get distracted. The universe said, you've been putting those non-negotiables out in the universe every single day. And now you're going to do something completely out of alignment again because you see something shiny and we're not going to have that happen. And that's kind of amazing.
Yeah.
If you just keep putting out such specifics of this is what I need, this is what I want, this is where I'm going, it happens. I'm a huge believer in manifesting. If you can't tell, like it's the most amazing thing.
And I love your visualization example too. That's another form of manifesting, right? Is visualizing. In that case, being that business owner, or it's just visualizing what you want your life to look like and how powerful that is, not only to you internally, but also sending it out to the universe to help continue to guide you in that direction. I know you mentioned that a lot of your transition, you did a lot of things on your own because you didn't feel safe to share with a lot of people. But can you talk about maybe a support system that you had during your transition process and seeking guidance through networking or mentorship?
I honestly did not have a support system at all, or a mentor, or anyone I was talking to about it as I made that transition. I did have a sponsor who helped me tremendously with the drinking situation and a counselor who helped me tremendously with the marriage situation. But as far as the transition from corporate to entrepreneurship, I was completely on my own. And I purposely didn't tell anybody when I was even in like the beginning, middle, or end stages of buying the spa because I didn't want anyone to put negativity on it. And I felt like a lot of people might think it's a stupid thing to do whenever you're a single mom to put your life savings in a business. So I didn't tell anybody about it because I didn't want anyone's negativity. And sometimes you have to do that in life if you're not sure about what people's reactions will be, because people will say negative things and it could totally throw you off. So I just kept it to myself, just did it on my own. And it's funny, after the deal was signed and it was done, I remember the first person that I told about it, a person literally said, "Wow, you really put all your eggs in one basket there, didn't you?" And I'll never forget that because I was like, so glad I didn't have this conversation with you before.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because now it's done.
Yeah.
And I am so excited. And I can just say, I don't care because it's done.
Hearing something like that, how did you move through the emotions that came up around that comment? I would imagine hearing something like that, there is a twinge of self-doubt maybe that comes up. Or was it totally like, thank you, moving on, because I'm doing this?
There was definitely a minute of that, but there was also a minute of, this is why I didn't tell anyone, like in my mind, of that's exactly what I knew people might think. And because I knew what it would look like to an outsider, almost like an irresponsible choice, because I had a kiddo and was a single mom. You don't do that. You don't take risks like that. But what those people don't know is that I could feel it. I knew in my heart of hearts, I was energetically drawn to this opportunity. I knew that I had been putting out in the universe those 3 non-negotiables for the whole time. And this actually checked all 3 boxes, which, like, looking back, I'm like, what was I even thinking with those 3 boxes? How can you maintain your lifestyle from corporate America and have work-life balance to the extent that you only have to work a few hours a week and can be with your kiddo all the time and never have to compromise your values or integrity? Asking a lot. Those are 3 pretty meaty boxes. But what people didn't know is I'd put that out into the universe this whole time and it was happening. And I knew it was for me. So it really didn't matter what anybody thought at that point.
How did you get into manifestation? Like, where did that practice come up for you? And what kind of resources have you used to continue to practice that?
So I originally learned about manifesting in the 90s and read like a Wayne Dyer book. I don't know if anyone is familiar with that, and had used it through my career in corporate America here and there for different things. I would visualize like I am a director level employee whenever I was 21 years old and straight out of college. And that's what I knew I wanted to do, and would try to think about everything for my career in terms of like, when I'm a director, in a few years when I'm a director, I always just knew that was what I was going to do, that I would just get to that level and it just would be. And even to the point that I was like, okay, I went and spent money that I didn't necessarily have at the time of being a manager, because I was like, I'm going to dress like the director level people dress. I'm going to get designer suits. I'm going to step into this. I'm a big believer that in manifesting, you have to really feel what it is that you're going to feel when you've manifested that thing. And having those suits made me feel elevated. And so it's different things for different people. But for me, it was that. I remember when I was working in marketing, doing a business plan and having to do projections on something. And we were doing a whole different strategy and there was no history to base the forecasting on. And so I just put this big number on there that was an increase that had never really been seen. And I was like, I'm going to put it out in the universe and see what happens. And we got to that number. And then the next business plan I did, it was 25,000 of something a month. And then I was like, well, we're going to do 40,000 next because we're going to make this other tweak. And I was like, I'm going to put it in the universe and see what happens. It happened. So I have always used it in different ways since I first discovered it in the 90s. And I would say a year ago, whenever I discovered manifesting as part of a guided meditation, is when I really started to see it in a different way. And that was when I was meditating and manifesting. And I wasn't really trying to manifest anything at that point. I was like, I'm super happy. I have this great marriage, this beautiful blended family, a great husband. I don't need anything in that department. I have this great spa and I'm super happy. So I wasn't trying to manifest anything in particular, but did this meditation and all of a sudden saw all these things, saw myself writing a book, saw myself coaching people, saw myself doing all of these things and realized that was almost like a vision, if you will, that manifesting can be something that shows us things that we never even knew that we wanted to do or could do. And I didn't know anything about it. You know what I mean? None of that had ever been on my radar. And then it's just so interesting that in that meditation from manifesting where it all started, I remember being like, I don't even know if I want to coach. I don't even know if I'd be good at that. I don't even know if I like it. Like, why is that even on my radar? What is happening here? And then when I started coaching, I was like, I've never loved doing anything more than this. So it's interesting how you can find things because you get cleared through meditation. You get out of that daily grind, you clear your mind, you're in the moment, and you can see things that you couldn't see before. So manifestation has taken many stages in my life. Like it continues to change and evolve.
Yeah. We all have to start somewhere in our learning process and it evolves over time and you figure more things out and recognize new ways of doing things. And I think that's one of the blessings of getting older is being able to see things in a different way based on your experiences that you've had in the past. I just want to say thank you so much for being here. Can you tell the audience how they can follow you, work with you, where they can find you?
Yes. So it's bestlifemindset.com. And anyone can just email me at Christy@bestlifemindset.com. I love to talk to people and I love to help people. And I will give you the link to my ebook for them to get it for free. And you can put that in your show notes. And yeah, I would love to hear from people.
Awesome. Thanks again, Christy, for your time and for sharing your story. I know that it's going to be an inspiration to our listeners because there's so many beautiful facets that have gone into where you were and where you are now. So thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. I love chatting with you.
Thanks. I'd like to thank Christy for sharing with us today. I hope that you found her story as inspirational as I did. If you're interested in working with her in a coaching capacity, I will provide all the links she mentioned in the show notes and also the link to get your free ebook. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe because we have a lot more amazing women coming on the podcast. So stick around and stay tuned and please provide a review. I would love to hear more about how this podcast is making an impact on you and your life. Again, thank you for being here today. I'm your host, Brittany Cates, and together let's continue to shift your day job.